What is your name?
Pam Colvin.
When and where did you begin teaching and in what subject?
Well, I started teaching my first year in 1976, and it was at North Jonesboro Elementary in Clayton County.
When and where did you retire and from what position?
Well, I retired in 2012 from Cherokee County School District. I had previously been a principal here in Cherokee and then went on administrator on special assignment and worked within the district supporting and training administrators and teacher keys and leader keys, which was part of the Race to the Top grant.
Why did you want to become a teacher?
That's a great question. I had a cousin that I just loved and idolized, and she was studying to be a teacher at Brenau University, and I wanted to be just like her. So I thought about it, and in high school, I was in the future teachers group, and then when I went to college, I declared education as my major and got to go into the classrooms and work with students, and I fell in love. And I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
What do you remember about your first year as a teacher?
I remember being very lonely and very overwhelmed. Way back 40 years ago, we didn't have coaching of teachers, mentoring. And so when I walked in my classroom on pre-planning, I was like, what do I teach? I was in second grade. There were no books, no materials, and I can remember going through every closet in the school looking for any book that had a number 2 on it. And I thought, okay, that means second grade. So it was quite a lonely time.
What is your favorite memory from your teaching career?
That's easy. My favorite memory was looping, which 20 years ago was a brand new concept. And I started in third grade, looped to fourth, and then looped from fourth to fifth. And so I had that neat experience of being in 3 grade levels. And it was with the same children and the same families. And I really got to build those strong relationships with the kids and with their families. And I realized then how important it is to build relationships and get to know your kids. And what I found out was that the children that needed the most support in our classrooms benefited so much from that understanding and love and knowledge that you have from that relationship.
What do you miss most about teaching?
I miss the joy and the excitement that is in every classroom where kids are there. I also miss that family feel that we have in our schools. Our fellow teachers, our students, our administrators, our parents, staff, we all become like a second family. So I miss that.
What has kept you busy since retiring?
I have been very busy. Right after I retired, I went to work at the Department of Education, working with teacher keys and leader keys effectiveness systems. I did that for several years, and now I'm at Reinhardt University, and I love it. It's a small university. I'm the MAT program coordinator and assistant professor, and Reinhardt reminds me a lot of the schools where they value relationships and building those with our students, and I enjoy that. It's a family feel at the university, so I'm doing that, involved some with church, and just it's a nice time right now.
What advice would you give to a first year teacher today?
When you think about your very first classroom, embrace that excitement that you're going to feel when you walk into that first classroom. And just remember those wonderful faces of those students that you'll see every morning. and build the relationships with their families and with them. And then also, as much as you can, that very first busy year, get involved with the school. It pays back just in huge dividends.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What is your name?
I'm Jean Cantrell.
When and where did you begin teaching, and in what subject?
I started in the late 70s, and I started in Bartow County. I was a first grade teacher. I had between 29 and 31 students at one time. There was only like 2 breaks during the week for PE, and those were like 35-minute breaks. By the time you got them to the gym, you were ready to go back to get them. So there was really no breaks during the day. I enjoyed working with the younger kids, but I was just totally out of in left field because I was in a second grade hallway, the only first grade teacher in a second grade hallway. So I really didn't have the camaraderie between the other teachers that I felt like other people did. So I felt like I was sort of over in an island away from the other first graders, and it was sort of lonely at the time, but it was a real challenge too. And I had so many different levels. This was before kindergarten. So I had kids who come to school that didn't know their ABCs, couldn't even sing an ABC song, much less recognize the letters of the alphabet. And then I had 4 kids who had been to church school, and I had them on second grade reading by the time Christmas, and I was looking for things for them to do. So I complained to the right people, I guess, and we started the gifted program the next year. They said, we have some grants. If you'll go to school during the summer, we want to start a gifted program. And I said, sign me up. I'm ready for it. And that's how I got into gifted education, and that's how I got to Cherokee County, because the next year they were starting it here in Cherokee County. And I had went to school with some of the other people, and they said, why are you driving to Bartow County when we're starting the program here in Cherokee? And I thought, sign me up, I'm ready to go for that. So I always like to challenge of something new.
When and where did you retire, and from what position?
I was elementary school counselor at Boston Elementary, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was there for like 18, 19 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a Title I school, but we had some really good parents, really good teachers, and I enjoyed my time at Boston.
Why did you want to become a teacher?
I don't remember ever wanting to be anything else. I played school. I have 3 younger sisters, and being the oldest, I was always the teacher, of course, and I don't remember ever wanting to be anything other than a teacher. It was just something I grew up with, and I didn't have any other role models for that. I just always knew I wanted to be a teacher, you know.
What do you remember from your first year as a teacher?
I guess the frustrations of being the only one in the second grade hallway, but the kids were such a delight. I love the little kids, and I was excited every time they finally caught on to something, and I could see the progress from, week to week, and they were learning to read, and it was like a new discovery every day, and it was a discovery for me too, but I enjoyed seeing the discovery in their faces.
What do you miss most about teaching?
The camaraderie between the other teachers, getting to, deal with the whole, and when you're a school counselor, you're working with the whole system. You're working with the administrators, you're working with the teachers, you're working with the families, starting programs like that, helping out families, being able to connect them with, if they needed the gas bill paid, or if they needed a car repair, or families who had needed help with their kids, and they were anxious to find something, to help their families and being able to make that connection. I felt really good as a counselor being able to connect the different sections of the community.
What is your favorite memory from your teaching career?
Probably the challenges. I was always up for whatever was going to be changing. I started the gifted program when there hadn't been a program. I started the elementary counseling program when there hadn't been an elementary counselors. There was a time when I had 5 schools: Woodstock, Chapman, Little River, Oak Grove, Boston, and it was a different school every day, always being on call. If there was a runaway at Little River, I was on the way over there. And Oak Grove's principal knew, hey, if something happens at my school, I'll be over there. If there was a defects case at Chapman, hey, Jean, come over, and I was there. It was able to connect the different communities all over the south end of the county.
What has kept you busy since retiring?
I like to travel. I've been on like 4 cruises. I'm an avid card player. I play bridge, I play canasta, hand, foot, and elbow. I'm very active with the other seniors in the community. We sort of look out for each other, take care of each other, and it's always good to have somebody else out there that they can depend on, or I can depend on them if I need or should I need the help.
What advice would you give to a first-year teacher today?
What advice? Not to feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. As a first grade, teacher, I was always looking for something else, some help out there. And there's so many good teachers out there. Don't feel like you have to do it yourself. Don't feel bad if you're stealing somebody else's ideas. Honey, they stole them from somebody else. It's one of those things where we're in it together. And it's always good to count on, if you see something else in the hallway and you feel like copying it, go right ahead. If you see some material that you haven't used before, check it out. There's always something else that you can try. I guess it's that don't be afraid to step out and try something new that you haven't tried before. And don't feel like you're taking it. It's out there. Just, look for sources out there, because there's a lot of good teachers out there with a lot of good ideas, and they probably didn't invent it either.
What is your name?
My name is Dr. Susan Buice.
When and where did you begin teaching, and in what subject?
I started teaching in August of 1980 at Canton Elementary School. I taught 6th and 7th grade. That was before we had middle schools here in the county. And I taught 6th and 7th grade English. I had up to 42 students per class. And it was a crazy time, but I didn't know any better because that was what I came into. I had one break twice a week from 7:55 to 8:25. Other than that, I had my 42 students. We even had to take grade books and add paid lines to the bottom of the grade books so we could get everybody in. But I did that for 3 years and loved it. Then I taught gifted there for 3 years. And then at that point, I moved to 6th grade when the Teasley opened and taught 6th grade there for the next 14 years.
When and where did you retire, and from what position?
I decided after 20 years at elementary school that I wanted to change, and so I transferred to Cherokee High School. I was hired to teach 10th grade and found out the week before school started that John McFather had retired and I was going to teach AP Lit. So I moved from 6th grade to 12th grade. I always taught AP Lit. I also had honors classes. I had tech prep classes, always in English. And I retired there in May of 2014 as the AP department head and having taught English there for all those years.
Why did you want to become a teacher?
I loved school. I wanted to learn. If I could have been a professional student, if somebody paid me to go to school, I would have been in school forever. But I just decided that the best way that I could stay in school forever was to teach. So I started to teach because I love school, and then I loved the kids, and so I decided that's what made me a teacher, is just loving the kids so much.
What do you remember about your first year as a teacher?
I remember that I wanted to quit. It was so hard. It was not what I thought it was going to be. I thought, I'll be nice and they'll be nice to me, and that didn't always work. A little overwhelmed at times. I came through during TPAI, where I did the big portfolios, and then 2 people from the State Department had to come and observe me to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do in order to get my final certification. So that was stressful. But then when I think back about it, though, what I really remember is how much I loved the kids. And so all those bad things kind of went away because I remembered all the good things.
What is your favorite memory from your teaching career?
I thought about that. That is so hard, because how do you sum up 34 years in one memory? But I think one of my favorite memories was probably my second year that I taught. And I had a group of students. We used to group the students as those who were struggling in one group, the red, white, and blue groups. And so I had a group, and I'd had them in the 6th grade and then again in the 7th grade. And we were doing something one day, and they made me laugh. And I said, I love this class. And one of the little boys turned around to me and he said, "What did you say?" And I said, "I love this class." And he looked back at me so seriously and he said, "No one's ever told this class that before." So when he told me that, I knew that I was where I needed to be, and that I was there to love the kids. And so I guess of all those memories, that's the one I would pick out.
What do you miss most about teaching?
Oh, the kids, without question. I miss the love. I miss the talks. I miss seeing them every day and seeing what's going on in their lives. They kept me young and alive.
What has kept you busy since retiring?
Lots of things. I've had lots of little jobs, part-time jobs. I worked the first year through the Workforce Investment Act as a graduation coach, and went back to Cherokee High School and worked with some students. I then was director of education at Goshen Valley, but that was those boys have so many needs, and I loved them so much. But it was a little bit more than what I wanted to do. I wanted some free time, so I work a couple of days at a homeschool co-op. I tutor. I am very involved with the Cherokee Retired Educators Association. My sister and I love to go out and shop and do those things. So just busy with a lot of fun things. I've read a lot of books. I'm just catching up on figuring out what it's like just to relax, because I'd forgotten what it was like to relax. So doing all those things.
What advice would you give to a first-year teacher today?
The interesting thing was that I had a message 2 days ago from a young lady that I taught in Cherokee, who's now a first-year teacher in South Dakota. She knows no one because her husband was transferred there. And she said, "I want to quit. What can I do?" So we've been talking for the last 2 days. And the one thing I want to say is, remember the positive. Every day there's something good. You're changing lives every day. So write it down. I wish I'd written down those things. The first year I taught, I started to dwell on the negatives, and I realized I couldn't do that. I had to look for the good. So I would say, look for the positive every day. If you can, keep a notebook. Write down that one little thing, whether it's something tiny, something huge, write it down. And remember that you're making a difference. Whether you realize it or not, you may never know the way you've touched a child. But to focus on the positive, keep happy, and love those kids.
Thank you very much for sharing with us today.
You're welcome.